Today on Brilliance Business TV, we have the incredible Louise Slattery, the Mind Lady, a globally recognised mind expert, multi-award winning therapist, Mindvalley-trained life coach and international speaker. Stay tuned. Welcome to Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have an incredible guest on the show today, Louise Slattery, all about mindset, which is so important. I know in the past I've struggled with my mindset and fear and overcoming obstacles, so I think it's so important that we look after the health of our mind. So I'm really looking forward to a conversation with Louise today. We're streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're on the E360 TV network. We're on Business Innovators Radio Network, Android, Fire, Roku, and many more. Let's bring in our incredible guest, Louise Slattery. Louise, welcome to Brilliance Business TV.
Thank you so much for having me. So nice to be here with you.
I'm really looking forward to a conversation with you today, Louise, and I got to come to your amazing event in London just a few days ago, which was absolutely incredible. I loved it for the launch of your book, The Spider Mind. So we can chat a bit about that as well later. So let's get started with the show. Your journey is incredibly powerful. What experiences in your own life led you to explore how the mind shapes our reality? And a great question as well.
Yeah. So now I'm called like the Mind Lady, but it wasn't always the case. Like you said, we all struggle with mental health and mindset. So back in 2018, I was attacked and I lay in hospital bed and I just remember my whole mind just broke down and I was suffering from PTSD, which I didn't really know much about at the time. And it made me become fascinated with how the mind works and how much it could be broken. But then again, that you can also change it and fix it. So the journey went from the depths of trauma to becoming so fascinated with the mind that I retrained, I left my jobs, I left my businesses and focused solely on the power of the mind. Because once we have the mind on board, we can do anything.
That's so true, Louise. I mean, I went through a big stage of fear and also I started believing it because the fears got so bad. I was reacting to the thoughts. So my fear grew and grew because you can either go one way or the other. And if you're growing fear, panicking and reacting to thoughts and believing them, it just makes them get worse and worse and worse. And I went down a real spiral with that. And I've also suffered with PTSD through trauma as well. And fatigue, sleeping, really getting
Not sleeping.
So
yeah.
I really understand. But I think as well, sometimes these things can happen to us to push us to see the light and start improving and start going on that journey of self-development and self-improvement as well. So I think it's very inspiring how you're sharing that with others to go on to.
Thank you so much. It's very common actually. So many people. Yeah, so many people are the same, that we go through the fears and we listen to the stories that we're telling ourselves, especially after trauma. We tell ourselves a lot, like you know, but it's knowing that what we're saying to ourselves, like the thoughts in our head, are not actually true and that we can change it.
Yes.
Is that what you found hard?
Yes, I think it's about not trying to rush the journey as well. I think sometimes you can't just have a miracle and the next day be completely healed. You have to send yourself on that journey of taking those steps every day and just celebrating the small wins along the way, knowing that the work that you're doing is adding up. And
Hmm.
like if I look to where I was a year ago or the year before that, my mindset is totally different now. But
Yeah.
also, as well, when you're changing your mindset, I struggled because you have extinction bursts in the mind. So if you're changing certain beliefs and you have thoughts that you're not very happy with, sometimes when you're creating a new belief, you still have the old identity and the old thoughts that are still there. So I got to a point where I didn't want them there. So you kind of fight them or resist them,
Yeah.
which only keeps them alive. So
It does.
I found that if you think, okay, I accept that this thought is here, but I accept that it's just a thought and it's not true. So I'm
Hmm.
going to allow it to be there and just not fight it anymore, whilst also knowing my new identity and my new truth, but also being okay with the existence of this old thought from an old identity because it's just an extinction burst. So when you are actually making progress, it's a sign when that old thought is showing up and really fighting you. It's
Yeah.
actually a sign that it's fighting because you are making progress and you are winning.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think, oh, I get so frustrated, but it's actually because you're making progress. It's an extinction burst of the
Yeah.
old
That's very.
identity trying to hold on. Does that make
Mm,
sense, Louise?
yeah, it really does, Mark. And it's very important. I'm very glad you said that actually, because a lot of people, when they're trying to change, they do exactly what you do, what you're saying there, that you try to fight every kind of thought. But the thoughts are not bad that are there. You know, even the bad ones were there for a reason. But when you do try and change it, you get this wall. I call it like the wall of fear. It's like this whole wall comes up in front of you, and you have to keep repeating the new thing again and again. But knowing that even when you're doing it, that it's going to be moments when it feels like you have to climb that wall almost. So a lot of clients that come work with me when we're doing their beliefs and reprogramming, they find the exact same thing. They get to this wall and they're trying to fight the thoughts, but then it's not. It's about taking it back, like you said, about taking it back and being okay with what you're thinking, and allowing them to be there, but knowing that they're not you, that they're an old identity, and that you can spin a new story. But the problem with the beliefs is that you have when you're redoing it and you're trying to change, but then the other part of your mind that tries to keep you safe is bringing you back to your old programming. See, whatever you're
Oh,
programmed in your
yes.
mind will actually resist. So you can say, like, when you want to go on a diet to get better, you will go on a diet and you know what you've got to do and you're doing it, but then you'll fall back because your programming will always outwin your thoughts. So I'm very glad you shared that. But it's very easy to do once you know, but you're really right with that. It's about accepting who you are now, accepting who you've been. And that's what a lot of people find hard, is accepting where they've come from and don't resist who they actually are.
I've got a great word, Louise, which I use quite a lot because, as well, you shouldn't really label thoughts good or bad, they're just neutral. So, as
Yeah.
soon as like the old identity or the old thoughts come in, I
Yeah.
just say neutral. I may say it
No.
a few times, I may say neutral, neutral. So, what that does, it stops me from reacting because it
Mm.
allows me to stay in an awareness of neutrality. So just by saying neutral, it interrupts the thought pattern.
That's a good
Neutral,
tip.
and then I can watch it, and then it's just like stay
Hmm.
neutral to it. Watch
Yeah.
it for 20 seconds. If you watch it for 20 seconds, most thoughts dissolve as
Drift
well.
away.
So
Yeah.
so you just watch them for 20 seconds saying neutral. So I found
Hmm.
that really good for me
Yeah.
because
I.
if you panic and give it fear or the fight or flight
Yeah.
response, you're fighting it, giving it
Hmm.
energy. So I'll just watch them now and say neutral, neutral, and
Yeah.
that
It's
works
like
really well.
not giving it the energy is a good one, because I do something similar when I was going through my stuff, and I say it to clients all the time. Imagine like you're in the park and you're just looking up at the sky and you've got the clouds going by. and you're not judging the clouds, you're just watching them. Like there's different shapes ones, there's a bad cloud that looks like an alien, and then there's like an angel going by, but you're not like giving them a name or anything. You're just sitting there watching them go by, and they tend to fall away, the power that they hold over you, when you just observe them. So it's about being in awareness mainly, just observing it and not reacting to it.
Oh, definitely. I think there's the sky metaphor is really, really
Yeah.
good, and seeing them as clouds as well. Dark clouds, light clouds, you just let them go. So I love that. You
Hmm.
often say that events themselves don't define us. The meaning our mind attaches to them does. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's not who you think you are, it's who your mind has practiced you are. So we have so many stories about our lives, and in our mind we keep that there, and that's who we are. So we're actually only ever telling stories. But these stories can be unhelpful because when I was going through trauma, I was telling the story of I'm a victim, I'm a victim, and then it can keep you stuck. But the problem is your mind is actually can work the opposite way too. So once you know how stories are attached, you can unattach them by using the same elements that attach them in the first place. So I talk about in my book, The Spider Mind, that you've got a copy of it, but I talk
I
about the
have.
three elements. Yeah, there's three elements in any belief systems or stories that you can change one of them elements, and you change all of your life. And it's so simple. But I think with stories, it's really important to think about how you look at it, because a story is not actually true. Like we've had stories like of Santa, and we believe it's true. We act like we're going to get presents on Christmas morning. It doesn't mean it's true. And if we could be so happy and excited on Christmas morning for something that is not true, what else are we holding that is not true about us due to a story?
Yeah, I agree totally. We're the ones that gives meaning to things, and it's not easy because sometimes we give that meaning and we've played that story so many times. I felt what was very useful for me was writing out the true meaning or a more healthy perspective of seeing it. Sometimes it takes someone like you to be there present to give their perspective as well, because you can't always see it yourself. But doing like a CBT read of where
Yes.
you take the story but you give it a healthy perspective. And then when you start reading it, you kind of realize, oh my word, that the perspective, the healthy perspective, is actually the real way of looking at it. And all of this time, you've been giving something false meaning. So I think
Mm,
that's very relevant to what you're saying here,
it's great.
Louise.
Yeah, your words, the written word is actually really powerful. It's really powerful to rewrite everything. So I really like that you do that. That is really important. And it's really important to share to everyone that the written word actually brings up a lot of meaning in your life. I get people to write the written word with the other hand. So, you know, if you're right-handed, you write a written word with the left, and it brings more attention from your mind into the page. So if anyone's listening, try that today. Try and write the written word with the other hand and give yourself more focus on your dreams and desires when you're doing it.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Many people believe the voice in their head is telling them the truth. From your perspective, is that voice actually truth? I
Yes,
think we
no,
know the answer to this one.
yeah. I give the voice a name. So I've got my voice name is Karen. But sorry if there's any Karens listening. But I like to give it a voice just to detach it from yourself, to give it a different name to yourself. That really helps me, and it helps a lot of other people, because when the voice comes in and attacks you saying, why you're so bad, why you're not good at this, you say, not today, Karen. Not today. Come back a different day. So yes, it's not true, but it is the perception of it being true. So I would say, you know, like in perception, it's like looking at a glass where it's half full or half empty. It just depends on the observer. The glass don't change the whole time. So it's about your perception, and perception is so important. I've got a whole chapter about perception in my book because it's a really important thing to study.
Yeah, I think as well, staying neutral to it. I think if you react, it's so easy to fall into spirals or
Yeah.
believe in the thought loops. Whereas if you just breathe calmly, just watch it go by, it's just like a storm, it will pass and stay neutral. That's why I use that word neutral, because it just allows me to remember to stay neutral rather than to panic as well.
Yeah.
And I know you have so many great tools like hypnotherapy is great
Oh,
for working on the subconscious side of things as
it
well,
is.
because what we're talking about at the moment is like the conscious mind is like reading out things, CBT. That's like working with your analytical,
School
the
mind. Yeah.
conscious mind. But
Hmm.
then you can go in and do things with hypnosis, which can really make
Hmm.
transformation as well, can't it, Louise?
Yes, hypnosis is really, really strong to change things that are stored in your subconscious. So we normally, like 90% of our behaviors and actions actually come from our subconscious, but we're only aware of like 5% in our brain that we work with on a daily basis. So you could be going on logical mind all day saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. But the 90% below that will win. So it's really important to be able to reach that, which is why I combine hypnosis and NLP to bring it all together, because you can reprogram all these beliefs quicker than if you tried to just do it yourself, like saying empty affirmations all day long. So it's really powerful.
Oh yes, and I mean having NLP is really powerful as well. Like I don't do it as much now. I used to have an anchor, so I'd push my anchor
Yeah, figure some
together.
thumbs
Uh,
together.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, but I think I needed that in the beginning, but then I was like, I don't feel I need that anymore. So
Mm.
you also develop on and
Yeah.
change
I
things,
still
but
use this when I'm about to go on stage or do a speech. I use that, and a lot of people do. Like you see a lot of public speakers before they get on stage, and if you notice now
oh
that they've
yes.
got their hand behind their back just before, and they're doing these anchors because there is so many tools out there, and the thing is, it's just to decide which one works for you because there's so many that you can choose from, right?
I agree. I agree totally, and I think it's an ongoing journey. I don't want to ever tell anyone, oh,
Yeah,
this is something that you do and then you
and you're done.
finish, because I
Yeah,
think what you realise is I've got people in my network so successful and they're still doing inner work and they're in their 80s. I
yeah,
think it's just something that you're doing to
yeah.
on an ongoing journey. But
Lifelong. Mhm.
I think it's lifelong, but you don't want to see yourself as you're healing, because you can send yourself on a never ending journey of needing to
Yeah,
be healed, which some
and
people
looking.
fall in that trap.
A lot of people
I
fall
think
in
it's
it.
about
Yeah.
I think it's about thinking, okay, I'm perfect now, I'm healed now, and I'm doing these things to place in my awareness who I am now, to
Mhm.
place this in my awareness, this is who I'm being now, and
Yeah.
just to improve. It's okay to improve, but you're already perfect and amazing. You don't need
Yeah.
healing, if that makes sense
Even
as
yeah,
well.
it does definitely, Mark. Because that is what I wrote at the end, like the last part of my book. That I'm not going to promise you you're healed now because you're not, because you didn't need healing. Like you were perfect already. You were born perfect. You wasn't born searching for stuff. And it's just to remember that, to come back to that. And life will give you ups and downs, and you will change as you're growing along, like Mark said about the speaking and doing things. But it's like it's a never ending journey because life doesn't end, because it carries on and you get a different level every time in your mind. So it's really important. So thanks for sharing all that, Mark.
Forgiveness is something you speak about deeply in your book. What role does forgiveness play in freeing the mind and allowing someone to move forward?
Okay, this one has been really hard and it's a real challenge. So when I was 17, my dad was murdered, and it was really hard time for me because obviously I was young and didn't know how to process all these emotions. But I was stuck in the stories of why me, the anger, and then you hold yourself in this state. So knowing that you have to learn how to forgive, and it's hard because people don't want to forgive people who've done bad to them. But it's not about forgiving the person, it's about forgiving yourself so that you feel free. Because when you are stuck in a state of not forgiving people who have done you wrong, you hold on to that energy and then you can't move forward. So forgiveness is never about the other person. It's about freeing yourself to move on. See, a lot of the time when people go through trauma and stuff, they feel like they shouldn't move on because of how they're feeling. But if they release it, then you can move forward. And it's one of the most powerful tools that I talk about, that I work with a lot of clients from, because everybody has had an experience in life that has been bad for them and that they have struggled to let go. But once we
Yeah,
remember who we are and then say, it's not even like you have to say it, you say it out loud, you don't say it to the person. So the tool that I use is like just put your hand on your heart, take a breath, and then say their name out loud, followed by the words, I forgive you and set you free. And when I
I
did
love
that,
that.
yeah, I did that with my dad, like people who killed him. And I finally did it. And as I said it, I forgive you and set you free. My shoulders dropped down and my stomach felt better. You can literally feel your body releasing it.
Yeah,
And it helps you get
yeah, I
unstuck.
agree. I mean, that's a very, very hard journey what you was on there, and I can imagine how hard that was. I
Hmm.
had some swans that I used to go and see at my lake. They'd been there 20 something years. They were a couple. I'd feed them every day. They'd come up out of the pond. And
Yeah.
one day, the one had been shot in the neck 6 times. Her male partner was killed in the pond. Just kids
Oh,
on with pellet guns, and the female survived. That really, really upset me. Nothing like your father, I know, but
yeah.
I got to know these swans. They were like real, real friends to me and give me
Yeah.
so much pleasure. And I had to forgive the people that did that because I was resenting them and feeling so much anger, and that's poisoning me and my mindset.
Mhm.
But then you kind of realize a person that does that must be going through so much in their own life to go and
Yeah.
do that. So you do also see the perspective of someone
Yeah.
that's going to hurt someone is obviously hurting. There are obviously things that they're going through. And it does also allow you to have some empathy and sympathy for the person that has done it, which I know in your case that must have been so hard, but I'm sure you experienced that as well,
Yeah,
Louise.
but a lot of people experience it, and even what you said about, being a swan, it still means something to us. It doesn't matter if it's like someone got killed or something small, like that, even just the little things that can
Is
affect you. It's important,
traumatic.
yeah. So it's important to do it for all of these things because it is, and you're right, because then after the forgiveness moves to the perception. So that is also a big part of how I forgive because I forgave and then looked at it from their perspective, what they went through, like you said, like the person who shot the swans must have been struggling as well. And it
I
just brings
hear
back love in the world, like knowing that there's love in the world as well, not anger. We're not putting out anger anymore.
definitely, definitely, definitely. For someone listening who feels stuck in their life right now, what is the most important thing they should understand about how their mind really works? How about something? Oh,
Yeah,
ignore me there. Yeah. So, but also, I do want to add this, Louise. You really can support people who are struggling. So
yeah,
share how you can support them as well, because I
yeah.
know you're just the perfect fit for this,
Thank you.
Louise.
So yeah, well, I guess the first step in is asking for help because too many people don't ask for help. It doesn't have to be me, it can be anybody, but just speak to somebody because speaking to somebody is the first step to helping you in your mind. So you can come work with me in one-on-one coaching where I combine hypnosis, the mind spider technique that I'm talking about in my book. I also do public speaking on stage to help reprogram the audience, which is really fun, and also workshops. So you can connect with me at louiseslatterycoaching.com, but also that may change to louiseslattery.com, and I'm on LinkedIn everywhere. But remember that your mind is not broken, that it's doing exactly what it's meant to do, keep you safe, and use the least amount of energy doing it. This is why it could be your best friend or your worst enemy. So let's become best friends with it.
Oh yes, I love it. I would encourage everyone to go to louiseslatterycoaching.com. That's louiseslatterycoaching.com. And if you're catching this on a replay down the line in the future, go to louiseslattery.com. That's louiseslattery.com. Louise, I honestly could talk all day
I
about
know I
this
could as well.
because
Yeah.
I've been through the journey, and also I can say to people, if I can change my mindset, I believe anyone can do it, because
Yeah.
I think I've been through the worst of the worst. I've been through trauma. I've been through um, the hugest fears, intrusive thoughts.
Oh, yes.
being in bed for days, just so depressed, and just taking those small steps every day, doing like a daily meditation, doing my
Yeah,
hypnosis on a morning,
that
listening
changed my
to
life.
sleep tapes, and reading a little bit through the day, just taking those little steps every single day. Also doing the work of conscious work of just being the observer, relaxing and accepting what does come up, and not reacting to it. Over time you make so much progress, and I know people out there need your support, Louise, so I really would encourage people to go to louiseslatterycoaching.com. Louise, thank
Oh,
you for
thank
being my
you.
guest today.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's been lovely to be on, and thank you for all your insights as well. It's been great.
I thoroughly enjoyed having a conversation with you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Brilliance Business
Thank you.
TV, conversations with leading experts in business. Until next time, bye for now.